Let me tell you guys something. I am one massively naive dude. So when I first saw this headline, I thought, oh my goodness, we're about to experience the first day, maybe ever, that the right is not going to be whining and complaining and moaning. Because this is a W for them, and they're going to take the W. Well, how wrong I was. So Hunter Biden pled guilty to a number of federal charges, pled guilty on federal tax crimes, and he's taking a deal on a gun charge. So let me walk you through this, then I'll tell you what the reaction is. Hunter Biden, the son of President Joe Biden, has agreed to plead guilty to federal criminal tax charges, a court filing revealed. Hunter Biden also agreed to enter into a so-called pretrial diversion agreement in connection with a charge of possession of a firearm by a person who is a user or addict of illegal drugs. U.S. Attorney for Delaware David Weiss, who was appointed by then-President Donald Trump, agreed to recommend Hunter receive a sentence of probation for the tax crimes, NBC News reported. So, very important fact. The dude who went after Hunter, the U.S. Attorney for Delaware, is David Weiss, was appointed by Donald Trump. We're talking about a Republican here. Okay. So they go on to explain the nature of the crimes. 2 federal misdemeanor crimes of willfully failing to pay federal income taxes. And then charge of possession of a gun by a person who is a user or addict of illegal drugs, according to the filing by prosecutors in U.S. District Court in Delaware. Okay, so now they go on to give the numbers here. I believe, in 2018, he had taxable income in excess of $1.5 million, but failed to pay income tax for each of those years, in 2017 and 2018. So he owed the IRS more than $100,000 in taxes for each of those years. So he owed about a total of just over $200,000. So what he did is, in 2022, he paid all those back. He was like, okay, you got me caught here. I'm going to pay you. Now, if this was anybody else and the IRS catches you 2017, 2018, you didn't report 1.5 million, you owe $200,000 more, 220,000 more in taxes or whatever. If you pay that up, the IRS is going to be like, we're good. We're fair and square. That honestly is what would happen. But in this instance, they decided, okay, let's not do that. Let's actually give him some sort of a punishment. So it's going to be probation on that front. And like I said, you have a federal gun charge because he basically is not mentally well and had a gun, and that's illegal, at least in Delaware. And so he's going down for that. So again, I thought people on the right would be like, well, thank God there's some semblance of justice going after Hunter Biden. No, they're mad. They're even more mad than they were previously when there were no crimes, no charges whatsoever. Why? Because they make the argument, this is not the real issue. The real issue is how corrupt he is. Should have gone after him for the corruption. Now, by the way, I agree. You should do that. But you should also go after Donald Trump for his corruption, and Joe Biden for his corruption, and Jared Kushner for his corruption, and the list goes on, the Clintons for their corruption. Guys, the reason why they don't go after the corruption, and I wish this wasn't true, but it is because they're all guilty of it. And when they're all guilty of it, they say, look, our game is let's just pretend like none of us are doing anything wrong here and leave it at that. So if you want to go after people, it's got to be for something else, right? So in the case of Hunter, it's for the gun charge and the tax stuff. But look, ultimately, my take on this, good. I'm happy that they went after him. But I will say it's ironic that they're like, this isn't enough. When what's the charge? The gun charge we're talking about, if this was Don Jr. who got hit with these same gun charges, they'd be like, but it's his Second Amendment right to have the weapons. Who cares about his mental state? He didn't do anything wrong. What are you talking about? And it's a witch hunt that they're going after him for the taxes. So notice, it's just partisan hackery across the board. My take on it is very simple. I have no problem with them going after him on this stuff. In fact, I think it's good they went after him on this stuff, right? They should investigate the corruption, but we know why they're not doing it. If you're going to investigate the corruption, good, but do it for everybody, and they're not going to do it for everybody. They would just target specifically. So they're just hands off on all the corruption, which I don't agree with at all, but that's what they're doing, and they're going after him on something else. So look, this can't be overstated. But the argument here of like two-tier justice system, double standard, they're going after Trump, they would never go after any Democrat. That is not true. It's not true at all. They busted him on this because this is what they could bust him on. And again, don't take my word for it. It's a Trump guy who was going after Hunter on this. So I'm sure he's sitting back and watching the reaction from the right-wing goons, and he's thinking, well, what the fuck? I did everything I could do. I did everything. I went after him. What do you want? What more do you want from me? They want him like life in prison. That's what they want. And they'll make the argument, well, yeah, but look at the crimes that Trump is accused of, and Hunter, it's not nearly as much. And it's like, well, yeah, Trump did significantly worse crimes. And remember, they're not going after Trump for the corruption. They're not. They're not going after Jared Kushner for corruption. They're not. They're going after Trump for the top secret classified document stuff, right? So I thought the right would look at this and be like, well, thank God there's some semblance of justice. They're finally going after Hunter. We all know Hunter's a criminal, and it's about time he gets what's coming to him. But none of them took a moment to soak in the W. They immediately went to, not enough, still proves the double standard. Well, the reason why he's not charged with all the same things Donald Trump is charged with is because he didn't do all the things that Donald Trump did. Right? Just take the W, man. Take the W. And by the way, I don't buy this idea that like, well, they'll just give Hunter like a little slap on the wrist. That's all they're doing here. Well, no, again, as I already described to you, these tax charges, nobody would even get probation over this if this was somebody else. As long as they paid the back taxes, it'd be a wrap. It'd be over. So they actually, if anything, maybe went a little harder on him. Probably, in the spirit of, we got to let everybody think that everything's above board here, and, we're not playing political favoritism. So, I mean, look, I'm happy he went down on something. I think it's good that he was charged with something. I would like all of them to be investigated for their corruption. But of course, the right-wing position is drop all the charges on Trump. Don't look into any of the corruption on the right-wing side, and only look at the corruption of Hunter and Joe. And I say no deal. I say go after all of them on those things. But they're never going to do it because that's baked into the cake of how the game is played in Washington as part of the recipe. So you're just going to have to settle for all the other things they go after him for. And look, again, at least in some way, they went after him at least in some way, right? Is that not some solace? But no, they don't take it as solace at all. In fact, even though it disproves their theory of like political favoritism or two-tier justice system in the way they think of it, they think it's further evidence of that theory, which is the hallmark of a conspiracy, that even arguments or evidence that disproves it makes them double down and triple down in that belief. It is crazy. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.